What's going on, family? Welcome back to Why Black Men Teach, the podcast where we keep it real about the experiences, challenges, and impact of black male educators. I'm your host, your boy, Dr. Rashad Anderson, and this show is all about telling the stories that don't get told enough. Why we teach, why we stay, and most importantly, why our presence in the classroom matters. So if you're thinking about teaching or just curious about the journey, stay locked in, and let's get into it. So my guests today are really special to me. 2 years ago, I moved from South Carolina to Denver to bring the Call Me Mister to this area. But I didn't come alone. I brought with me two seniors, one junior from the Call Me Mister program at South Carolina State. And they are the charter members of the Mile High Misters that we have here at MSU Denver. So welcome to the show, my three sons. We got Chris, Jordan, and Josh. Thank y'all for coming.
Glad
How
to
you
be here,
feeling?
man. Glad to be here, brother. Glad to be here.
How you? How
Blessed
you?
to be here, man.
How's it been so far? It's winter now in Denver. How y'all feeling so far?
It's cold every day. Every day it's cold. I'm sick of it.
Facts. Because like people say it's 30 degrees outside and be like, oh, it's really not that cold. But from Southerners, like this.
That's a different level of cold.
That's a different level of cold when you don't see 50 but so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to start off this conversation about your journey. And in thinking about the journey, when you were in elementary, middle, and high school, did you always want to be a teacher? Or did something change along the way that changed your mind a lot when you were like 11th and 12th grade? Like, talk to us about your journey.
I think for me, I was a young high school student that didn't really know what I wanted to do, what career field I wanted to go into and things like that. And, it just so happened that one day I came across this program called Call Me Mister, and I'm like a few days out from graduation. I'm scrambling trying to figure out what's going on, and my mom just kept telling me, look into this program, you might like it. You never know what's to come. And so I looked into the program, and I actually had my first meeting, my Zoom meeting for an interview, and they was telling me a lot of good things, and I just got to meet a few of the guys. I think I had joined my first interview. And after that, I had a conversation with you, and you just changed my entire outlook on what education could be and what the program was and what perceptions that I had of it. And just from that moment on, since when we met in Clemson that first day and we was riding around, it was just me and you, and seeing that, it's more to being a teacher than, just being in the classroom all day. It's not what everybody thinks it is. It's very transformative work, and you let me know that, first day in, like, you were a different vibe, real cool. I didn't really expect you to be a teacher, and just seeing that firsthand, that was my first experience. That really influenced me heavily to go into education.
I remember that. Yeah. Who else?
I'm a very spiritual man, and the Bible says in Jeremiah 29:11, "For I know the plans that I have for you." And growing up, you can ask my mom, like whenever somebody would ask me what I want to be when I grow up, I would say a football playing preacher. And I don't know how that was going to work out if NFL was on Sunday and church on Sunday, but I thought that's what I wanted to do. And I feel like that the plan was already written, and I get that opportunity to preach every day now. Like as a senior in high school, I thought I was going to play baseball, and I thought I knew the plan for my life. I had a scholarship to play baseball at HBCU across the gate. But, like Josh said, meeting you and hearing somebody, I know that I didn't have that figure in my life, like that African-American male figure in my life. So seeing you and seeing what all you did really changed my perspective on a lot, and the plan was already written.
I would say kind of like how Joe said, I was kind of headstrong on playing football and going to my mom's alma mater, Charleston Southern. But then like everything just came crashing down one day, and like I was back at square one, didn't know what I wanted to do. And that's when I ran into Coach Felder, and he told me about calling Mister. He told me that it was a great program. He said that I know you want to be a teacher. He said you can also come here and try to play football as well. So that's when he brought me to South Carolina State, met you, and then it's been a whirlwind since then. I feel like you bring a new outlook to education and you really try to get your students to understand the vision and that it's way bigger than what's on the meets the eye. Like Josh said, like education isn't ordinary, and that's something that you really let us know off the rip.
Yeah. I love y'all boys.
I love it
You
too.
too.
In thinking about your trajectory now, who is a mentor or somebody you had in your life that you can point to that you can say really influenced the decision outside of me that teaching is a viable option for you?
I would say just like how I said, Coach Felder, my high school principal.
Who a legend?
Legend
Yeah.
in South Carolina. Shout
Yeah.
out Tony Felder. Without him, I wouldn't be right here today. He's the one that even made me even want to be a teacher, like just because he showed me like you could be a teacher, but that's just the beginning. Like you could be a principal, you could be a head football coach, you could be an athletic director. So he really impacted me to want to be a teacher. But like I said, my second mentor had to be you once I got to college, because you really opened my eyes to things that I didn't think was even possible in education. So if I had to pick two that really impacted my life and put me on the path that I'm on, it was definitely y'all two. You know that.
It's hard trying to pinpoint, one or two people, because in education we have saying that it takes a village to raise a child, and I'm truly honored to say that I had a village. I had people like God rest his soul, Edward Chambers, Hakeem Scott, Jason Bush. They were the reasons why I even went on the field trip to South Carolina State and even had the opportunity to talk to you. So like, so many figures in my life, and not even all of them were black males. We had, you had the black females, and you had, where I come from is an area in which it was almost like monolithic societies. Like it was all black middle school, all black high school, and then I went to HBCU. So I had a lot of figures in my life, and they played a big role, but definitely had a village to raise me.
Good, good. Josh?
I mean, besides the most common one, I would say that I didn't have a lot of mentors growing up, but I had my mother. She was very strong, very independent. She did everything that she could do to pour into us every day, and I also had two strong grandparents around me all the time that they were taking care of me and catering for me. And although, they didn't have that college education to really give me a guide on what I needed to do, they instilled in me a lot of morals, a lot of principles that I take with me every day now still. And they just played such a big, those three people played such a big influence on my life, because if I haven't said it yet, my mom's a principal as well. Mm-hmm. And
Shout out to mom.
Yeah, shout out my dudes. Shout out my dudes. But yeah, she played just such a huge role, because, it was just her in the house and my two other siblings. And, she's working late trying to provide. It's some nights she coming home late, tired, still staying up to do our homework with us. And it's 8, 9, 10 o'clock. She done worked all day since 7 that morning. So, just really seeing her grind, seeing her passion and seeing her will to, always push through and persevere. I think that played a big role in pushing me to where I am today.
That's great. I like that. Thinking about where you at now, that transition. So we were in Orangeburg, South Carolina, and if you don't know about Orangeburg, South Carolina, small rural city, cows, livestock, lots of land. Yeah, and you have 4 HBCUs kind of in the area, predominantly black community. You have black elected officials. And so in essence, a lot of people refer to it as like a black Mecca. You go from historically black college and university, and then now you're in Denver, Colorado, where before you had in your class, it was all black people. And now you're in classrooms where You're the only black person in the entire class. What was that transition piece and that shock, that cultural shock from moving from Orangeburg, South Carolina to Denver, Colorado? Like, what was that experience like?
It was crazy from, like, I think that, we moved here in August and school started in August. So there was really no adjustment period and everything was 100% totally different from the weather, the classes that we were taking, the way campus looked, the food was completely different. But like everything changed and we had an expectation of success. It was an expectation of, perfection. And although that was a lot during the transition time of having all those expectations while still trying to get adjusted and accommodated, I think that I heard a quote that says, expectation is a breeding ground for a miracle. And I think that's exactly what we were able to do with the time and the opportunity and the space that we had, that we pulled off a miracle. It was, everything was so different from what we were used to. We left our family, we left our friends, and we did it off like hope and faith, and it worked. So I truly believe it was a miracle for us to pull it off.
I would say kind of like Joe said, we kind of did it off hope. It was more like a faith walk. Like we really had a plan that we wanted to execute. We didn't know how we were going to get it done when we got here, but we knew that we wanted to do this. So when we first got here, it was more of engulfing ourselves in the culture. And I feel like the spaces that we were in, you could navigate that space a certain way. But then when you got out here to Denver, you had to learn to navigate in a new space. So I would say once we started engulfing ourselves in the culture and really understanding what was in front of us, then we really started to thrive.
I think, just first moving here was very hard for me specifically, just because I'm so heavily family oriented. Family is, one of the most major things in my life. So, moving 1,200 miles away from my family, everything I knew, my home, that was a hard transition. But what really kept me going is, you guys sitting up here with me today. We were all we had. We were family. We would go and take those trips where we go and eat lunch or eat dinner every weekend. And, being in those classes with my two brothers, that just really helped me push through, seeing the work that they were doing and the passion that they were taking with everything. It made me want to do better. So that expectation, it wasn't lowered for anybody. Everybody was held to the same expectation. And just having you guys on my side, through it all, it made the transition a little bit more bearable. And, now we're here today, able to do it after doing so many things in this past 2 years, so it's just a blessing.
Yeah. Thinking to that aha moment that you had in your life, what has been the moment that confirmed for you that you are walking in your purpose, that you were designed and created to be in the classroom? What's your aha moment?
I would say my aha moment happened back in South Carolina. I was doing the MiSTERS summer internship in Dover, North South Carolina. It was at Dover Elementary. I was working with third grade. I met this boy, a little African American boy, on the first day of school, and we hit it off. We became best friends, and we were attached at the hip. And the whole time I thought that he was just latching on to me because I was a younger male, dressed kind of like them to school, kind of sounded like him. But something just told me one day to go out there and see who picks him up. So I went out there one day, and lo and behold, it was his grandmother. And she wound down the window. She said, "Are you Mr. Livingston?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am, I am." And she was like, "If you want my grandbaby, you can just have him." And she was like, "You all he talk about, he got a picture of you and him hanging up on his wall." And that really meant a lot right then and there, because it just showed that the work that I was doing in the classroom, it really meant something. And it also meant a lot because I keep that same picture of me and him in my car every day. So just to know that the work I was putting in was being beneficial to not only me, but to him, it really meant a lot. And then next thing his grandma told me was, "I really appreciate everything that you're doing." because he just recently lost his father in a car accident. So whereas I was just coming to school every day trying to be an educator, just trying to be a teacher, he saw me as more than that. He saw me as a father figure, a big brother figure. And I think that a lot of times teachers kind of get that mixed up. They think that when they come into the school, they're simply there just to teach. But we're also there to nurture, to care for kids, and really try to project them on the path that they need. So once she told me that, it just really kind of let me know, like, this is really what I'm supposed to be doing, because he could have latched on anybody else, but he felt that love and that care from me. So that really let me know then.
Boy, that was good. That
And I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, he dropped some nuggets down. Okay.
I think my aha moment would be within the first semester that I came in to call me mister. And, you know, it's just so crazy because I never expected to be in education. And there I was, a part of an education program where I first met Jordan and Chris, and they took me under their wing. And like, just seeing as a freshman, you know, a 18-year-old kid, you know, having that brotherhood, that camaraderie, and seeing the things that they did while I was still young, you know, that pushed me to want to even go and do more. So just in wanting to find my why, you know, wanting to find why I'm in this work, why I want to do it, I wanted to create something for myself. I wanted to kind of create a name for myself in the cohort. And so one day, you know, I came to you with this idea to do a school assembly. And you told me you liked the idea, and all I need to do is find a school, and it's all mine. And it would make sense that I picked my mom's school for the first school to ever do a school assembly at. And after rehearsing the assembly, you know, a lot of hours put in, you know, we went out there and performed the assembly, and all the kids were just screaming, standing ovation. And I'm looking through the crowd, and I see my mom standing up at the back of the auditorium. And, you know, she just looked as proud as she could be. You know, she was clapping, standing up. And, like, just being in that moment, you know, it really let me feel like this is what I was called to do. Like, I'm here in this work to be doing this. Like, this is what I love to do. You know, I love this feeling. I always want to have this feeling every day. And so, you know, that definitely pushed me to be like, yeah, I'm in the right work. I was called to do this.
Love that story. I remember that school assembly. That was a
First
dope
one
day.
ever.
Yeah.
Nah, for
Yeah, it
real.
was.
I think my aha moment about education really came before I even took an education class in college. It was during the summer internship. It kind of started during the summer. Before I went to South Carolina State, we were at our summer internship in Clemson, South Carolina, the one that we go to every year. You know, I was a freshman. I'm still meeting the cohort, trying to understand, you know, what the program is, taking notes. Met Roy Jones for the first time, met Mark Joseph for the first time, you know, and then Dr. Anderson comes up to me, or you came up to me. Well, you came up to me in between sessions, and you asked me, like, if you could travel anywhere in the United States, where would you go? And I told you Washington, D.C., because I was a nerd. I'm still a nerd. I wanted to stand in the spot that King stood when he delivered his I Have a Dream speech. I wanted to see the Lincoln Memorial, the White House, all those, you know, historic buildings. And then you asked me if I ever spoke in front of a crowd, and I had just done my senior address, so I told you yes. And you walked away, and I didn't think anything of it, but like I told you before, I'm spiritual, and I think that everything is divine intervention. I think nothing happens by chance, and that conversation didn't just happen by chance. And a couple weeks later, I was in a group chat, and we were presenting for the U.S. Department of Education, and that's one of the biggest rooms to this day I've ever stood in, one of the biggest crowds I've ever presented in front of, and it just truly opened my eyes to think that, you know, I'm a small town kid from Broad River Road, South Carolina. I never thought that I would even go outside the state of South Carolina, but to go to the one place that I thought I wouldn't be able to go to for 4 or 5 years when I graduated and got my first teaching check, like, to do that in that moment before I even stepped on campus, I think it lit a fire in my stomach. And it just, that experience and that exposure did something for me as a young African-American male, to know that I could be just like you too. And I don't know where my mind would be without that experience. So I appreciate you overly for that, brother.
Love that. So, Jordan and Chris, you recently just graduated, walked across that stage. That I want to say that graduation was a little different. I have had a lot of members and call me Mr. Graduate, but I've never given a degree out before, and so that was a different experience to be able to pass you your degree. But now you two have started your teaching careers at Green Valley Elementary. What do you think is the impact of kids in that building who never had interactions with black men before? And you're their very first black teacher that they ever had, and the only black teachers in the building. What do you think that does for kids that do not look like you by being in that school building?
I think that it really just shows kids that we're more than what people say we are. I feel like when people see us, they see us on TV as either athletes or rappers or whatever on TV. So you don't really see as much black men in a classroom. So I think that whenever we come into a classroom, first things first, they get like an excitement factor because this is new. They don't know what's going on. They never seen anybody that looks like me, anybody that sounds like me. And then it's like a wow factor once we start talking, simply because we know what we're talking about. We don't just try to play dress up and try to be regular teachers. Like, we try to make learning fun. We want to make learning everything it wasn't for us. So whenever they see us, it really just dispels all the negative things about black men. So I think that's very important when they see that, because it shows them that we're not limited to what they say we are, so why do you have to be limited to whatever people may say about your race or your ethnicity? So
I think, yeah, Chris is absolutely right. Like, we breaking the barriers and reversing the stereotypes. Like you say, you see, oftentimes when you see African American male portrayed, it's in a negative image, in a negative fashion, a negative light. And so for my students to see me, you know, I know for 180 days, you're gonna get love like you've never been loved before. I tell my students all the time, I love them, and I'm big on hugs, and you know, I'm a toucher, so I'm gonna come by, I might put my hands on your shoulders, I might give you fist bumps all the time, but I think that for them to see me as their celebrity is what's the biggest thing for me. You know, we have like the YouTube channel, and we have like interviews and stuff like that. So when I show my kids those things, they call me Mr. Famous, because they think I'm some type of superstar. So for me to reverse that image and that negative stereotype that we may get in other ways, I think is huge. But also too, you know, giving and taking works both ways. So in order for them to see me and accept my culture, it has a lot to do with, you know, me getting down to their level and accepting their culture too. I told you I come from like a monolithic society where it was all black elementary school, all black middle school, all black high school. So I never had friends from Burma or Thailand or that came from Africa. You know, I think it's beautiful that I get to learn about them just as much as they get to learn about me. And one of my educational philosophies is that you can't teach a student until you reach a student. And so it makes my job a little bit better. It makes me happy that I get to tell my kids, like, all right, I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna watch a video about your country, I'm gonna go to YouTube University, I'm gonna check it out, and we're gonna talk about it tomorrow. And like, they look forward to those things, so.
Yeah, I think like, cause teaching is one of those professions that people don't understand. If we want a better society and want to dismantle racism, teaching is that pathway that every single day we are dismantling racism. And it's a reciprocal process, because while we are going into these spaces and living and embodying what it means to be a black man, but for us, we grew up in all black spaces, and so we have to learn about the other as well. Right. Yeah. So, Joshy, what's going on?
What's down?
So you're getting ready to start a mentoring program at a local high school here, and why do you think mentoring is so important for all students when they in a school?
Oh yeah, so like I told you, I didn't have all the mentors growing up. And I know from the experience of being that young man that growing up without a strong male role model in your life is tough. Like you don't always know as a kid, you don't always know what your emotions are telling you to do. You don't know how to control your emotions. You don't know how to present yourself. You don't know how to tie a tie. You know, don't know how to dress yourself in a certain way for each certain event. And, you know, those are a lot of the things that we like to work on that I think a lot of kids, a lot of young males should know, you know, because in this mentoring program I'm about to start, I plan on doing brotherhood circles because, you know, we want to definitely build relationships. That's first things first. This is not just a education thing. I believe education goes beyond the four walls of the classroom. And so I would be doing them a disservice if I kept it strictly education. I want these kids to know that they got somebody in their corner. You know, you want kids to feel like they're a part of something. Everybody wants to be a part of something, whether it be a group, fraternity, you know, it doesn't matter. Like, kids just want to be a part of something to call their own. And I think that's very important for young men to have those mentors and those role models in their life, people that they can look up to, people that they can aspire to be like. And you know, it just goes to show, like, you look at me, I had a few strong mentors, and look at where I'm at today. I'm small town, probably not even 200 people from my town. You know, the only people that live on the same road as me is my aunt and my grandma. So like, just to be all the way in here in Denver, Colorado shows you the power of a strong mentor in your life.
Let's switch gears. Talk about Call Me Mister. And this program near and dear to me. I've been a part of Call Me Mister ever since I was 17 and had the privilege for almost a decade now in being a director of Call Me Mister. And y'all been with me for a while.
Yep.
What's been some of the biggest lessons that you have learned about being a teacher from Call Me Mister?
I would say that when people think of being a teacher, they think of somebody that's a square. Like they just think of somebody who is bland, just come into the classroom, just be boring, just try to get through the curriculum every day. And I feel like one of the main things that Call Mr. taught me is that you can be yourself and still be a good teacher. Like you can be cool and still be a good teacher. You can be real and still be a good teacher. So like just knowing that I can go in any space and still have the same impact as a black man, whether I'm in a suit or whether I'm in a polo shirt and some Jordans. Just being able to be relatable to the kids. I really feel like Call Me Mister really taught me that you can, like Joe said, you can't teach a student until you reach them. So like we're big on relationships. And I feel like that comes with caring. That's where the nurture part comes in, because a student not gonna respond to somebody that they really doesn't think care about them. So just being able to go into a classroom, be myself, be authentic, be real, and still having a wherewithal to care about my kids and let them know I care about them, I think that's one of the biggest things Call Me Mr. taught me.
I think the lesson that was most impactful for me, I mean, there's been so many. You got the beta fish, the sut, the lion, giraffe and the turtle.
All them lessons.
All of them.
Oh my
So many lessons. You get the lessons on the one-on-one phone call and nobody else here.
Little workouts in the hallway.
All types of lessons. But I think the one that was most beneficial to me was, it was kind of like a me versus me lesson. You told us that you have to be in constant competition with yourself, because that's the only way that you'll truly get better. Like, and that allows me to keep the mindset of when I walk in the school building every day, I know that I'm teacher of the year regardless whether I get the award or not, because of the work and the effort that I put in the dark or in the light. The things that you see or you may not see, you know, I'm working to be that teacher of the year, because when we were in this program, it was a standard of excellence. And the standard was the standard, and it wasn't lowering for anybody. So, you know, you taught me to, you kind of formed me to be this perfectionist and have this perfectionist mindset of everything needs to be 100% my best, and I need to be in constant competition with myself in order to be the best version of myself every day. But and ultimately, it's for the babies. So, you know, it works out for everybody in the end. I do what I do for the kids, and I don't do it for a check or for a pat on the back. So, being the best version of myself is ultimately going to impact the next generation and make them the best versions of themselves.
I think my biggest lesson I learned from Call Me Mister is one of the first ones I learned. Are you a thermometer? Or are you a thermostat? Now everybody done heard that one. Everybody heard that one. And that's one of the first things you ask every mister as soon as they come into the program. And as an 18-year-old, it catches you off guard. You're like, what? Like, what does that mean? And then once you break it down and tell them, you know, a thermometer checks the temperature and the thermostat changes the temperature. When you break down that lesson, it really opens up your eyes to a whole new horizon. Like, you don't even think that deep into it. But you taught us since day one, like, every room you go into, you gotta be the most powerful person in the room. Because you already working behind the 8 ball. So why not go out and take every opportunity you can get, go and be the best person, the best speaker, the best student every time you step on any stage into any classroom. And always having that in my mind, like, I want to be able to change the temperature. I want to be able to control how high and how low the temperature is with my energy, my words. And I take that with me throughout life. You know, every time I step into a classroom, every time I step onto the stage with you, every time I go in the rooms where I'm not always with you, even if I'm by myself, you know, I always try and present myself in a certain way just based off that idea that, you know, I want to always be able to change the temperature of the room. I want to be able to make people feel me, you know?
That reminds me of another good one.
What?
The one, being able to walk with kings nor lose the common touch. That was huge.
That's pretty good. That's a lot of lessons. What do you say to the young man that may be watching this and they're on the fence about what they want to do with their life, and they heard so many negative things about teaching, like the pay and the burnout, dealing with parents, and all of the negative you see on Facebook and Instagram, fighting the teachers? What do you say to that young kid that think they want to be a teacher but don't know, to confirm that this is something that they can do?
Well, I say to all the young listeners out there, everybody had to have a teacher. Every profession comes from a teacher. And you probably had teachers throughout your matriculation of going to school, middle school, high school, that you felt like they didn't understand you, they didn't get you, they didn't care about you. So why not go and be that same teacher that you wanted so bad? Why not be that light, that mentor, you know, that transformative spirit for another young child to help keep it going?
Nelson Mandela said that education is the most powerful weapon in the world. And if you look outside your window, if you look on social media, if you read the news, and you're disappointed by anything that you see in any of those options, if you're disappointed by anything, the only way that we can change everything is through education. And it might not be the most glamorous profession. It might not be the profession that makes you the wealthiest, but you'll truly be revolutionary to your community, and you'll be able to impact lives and hopefully generations of students, and just like me, be able to be the teacher that you never had.
I would say being a teacher doesn't just stop at being a teacher. A lot of people come into the classroom and they think that I just got a curriculum to teach, but really, we're really change makers. We're really changing like Joe said, how your community looks, how it's going to be in the next 10 years, that could all be in your hands. And the same way you might have grown up and not like the things you saw around, this is your opportunity to change that. And it might not even be in your own community. It could be somewhere else. But you have that power in that classroom to do great things, do revolutionary things. And this would be one of the best decisions of your life. I promise you.
Well, folks, you heard it from the three GOATs, Chris, Jordan, Josh. I think that this is, you're going to look back on this show and people are going to look back and say, I knew them when, because I really feel like you have a beautiful career ahead of you. And I'm really excited to see the impact that you make. And you're going to make an impact on thousands of kids. And a lot of people say, how do you change the world? And think it's some type of utopian saying, but each person doing their calling and walking in their passion and doing this work, that's how we change the world. And that's what y'all getting ready to do. So I can't think of a better crew to do this work with. And I love y'all. And
Love you too.
Love you more.
Love you too, brother.
it's gonna be a good time. So all folks is out there, thank you for watching episode 2. I think this was great conversations. Again, I'm your boy, your host, Dr. Rashad Anderson, and this has been Why Black Men Teach. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media, click and subscribe, and look out for more episodes coming soon. Take care of yourselves. See you next time.
Peace.